Disclaimer: this video is not made to hate on a certain race or group of people. My goal with this video is just to educate and give my opinion on the subject matter. So I advise the viewers to be respectful toward each other down in the comment section. If there is any subject that we shy away from discussing in the mainstream media or with our families and friends is how our skin colors affect your chances in dating, and how it affects your social life as well. Some people out there believe that your ethnicity and skin color does not play a role and does not affect your chances in dating at all. And then we have the other end of the spectrum. We have people that believe if you are not white, this automatically puts you at a sub 5 or below average in attractiveness. I've gotten these comments when I did my video on Hamza. Well, this is gonna be today's subject on how your ethnicity and skin color affects your dating and what you can do about it. Like the rest of my videos, this one will also be split into multiple parts to make it easier to follow and skip ahead to the parts that you want to watch. Part 1. Analyzing the data provided by dating sites when it comes to different ethnicities. Part 2. Breaking down that data provided to us. Part 3. My theory on where things will be heading in the future. And if you guys want to get your face rated with personalized look maxing advice, link will be down in the description. Without further ado, let's get this video started. We will be analyzing the data provided to us from two different dating sites. The first dating site is Are You Interested? It's a dating site similar to Tinder created by Facebook. And the second one we will be looking at, it's the website OkCupid. I chose two websites instead of one to see if the data match up. So let's bring up the Are You Interested stats. This was published back in 2013 and it shows us the highest response rates according to each ethnicity. When it comes to women's highest response rate, Asian women respond more to white men by 7.8%, black women respond to black men more by 9.3%, Latino women respond to white men more by 5%, and white women respond to white men more by 6.7%. Now let's move on to the highest response rates when it comes to men responding to women. We see that Asian men respond more to Latino women by 19%, Black Latino and white men respond more to Asian women, which surprised me to be honest. Now let's move on to the lowest response rates when it comes to women responding to men. We can see that Asian women responded 3.3% less to black men, black women responded 5.4% less to white men, and the biggest hit, Latino and white women responded less to black men, white women by 2.8% and Latino women by 2.6%. So what we conclude from this data presented is that all men except Asians preferred Asian women, while all except black women preferred white men. And both black men and black women got the lowest response rates for their respective genders. So there is a big preference toward white people and very low preference toward black people. Let's move on to the next graph presented to us by OkCupid. In these graphs, they looked at response rates when a man writes an inquiry email to a woman. What is the chances that that woman will write back? Here is the data. We can see here that Asian female response rates are the highest for white men by 29%. And the second highest response rate goes to Middle Eastern and Native American men by 26%. And the lowest response rates goes to Asian, Black, Hispanic and Indian men. Asian women have an average response rate of 25.7%. Black women response rates is just high when it comes to any race. They have a response rate of 34.1%. Hispanic or Latino women have the highest response rate to white men with a response rate of 30%. The second highest response rate goes to Native American with a response rate of 26%. And then the rest of the ethnicities, Indian, Asians, Black, and the rest gets a low response percentage. Indian women have a high response rate to white and Pacific Islander men with a response rate of above 30%. The second highest response rate goes to Native Americans and Hispanic men with a rating percentage average of 26%. And then the rest of the races and ethnicities are all in the red zone. It's funny how not even Indian women want to date Indian men. Pretty ironic. Middle Eastern women are more likely to respond to Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, Hispanic and white men. And like usual, Black, Indian and their own ethnicities have the lowest response rating. Native American women, just like Black women, have high response rates to each race and ethnicity. I'm gonna skip to white women. I'm more interested in seeing how they respond to each race. You can stop the video to see how the other ethnicities are doing. So looking at the white women, they respond to white men the highest, no surprise there, with a response rate of around 29%. The second highest response rate goes to Middle Eastern men and Native American men with a response rate of around 26%. And the rest of the ethnicities are all in the red zone. So from this graph we can see that the white men have the highest response rates and the worst response rates goes to black and Indian men. With the exception of black and Native American women, those have a high response rates to all races out there. God bless those women. I also have another graph here that shows the opposite scenario to see how well men responded. And like you would expect, men are horn dogs, they stick their meat in anything. But we see that black women suffer the most when it comes to getting responses from men. So there you have it. This proves that a racial bias does exist when it comes to dating. But why does it exist? Are we all racist? Why are the white men highly desirable worldwide? Do you have any chances in dating if you are a man of color? Well, I'm gonna do my best to answer those questions. I did some research everywhere I could and I found no scientific reasons to why we prefer dating our own race. But I think we prefer our own people because we humans are creatures of comfort and each has its roots in years of evolution and biology. Let's say for example you were born and lived your whole life in India. You're gonna be looking at familiar faces your entire life, people who share the same skin color and features as you, similar religion and cultures. Those are your own people. If you marry an Indian, then you are choosing the safe and comfortable option. This is not the main reason. There are people of color who don't want to date people of their own race. They want to date the white people because some of them had been brought up with racist beliefs that white skin is more pure or it is superior than other skin colors. Some people are not racist, they just have sexual preferences for other ethnicities. I know some white women who don't want to date their own race but have preferences, for example, for Latino men. Things like this happen all the time. The difference between sexual preference and just pure racism is that you are sexually attracted to someone who is not of the same ethnicity, but you don't discriminate and hate against any other race or your own. You treat them the same with the respect and not with disgust. This is sexual preference. Racism is refusing to date because you think that that person is inferior to you as a human being and you think that he don't deserve the same rights and opportunities as you. He is basically a subhuman in your eyes. I believe this is the difference between the two. And I also believe that it is fine for people to have sexual preferences toward a certain race. There are biological and evolutionary reasons behind that. But racism is not fine. I think we all know that. Now, why do white people have such a high SMV worldwide? Well, since I'm from Morocco, a third world developing country, I know exactly why this happens, since I heard it directly from women's mouths over and over again. You are a walking, talking visa to a better life in Europe, Canada, or the United States. And the likelihood of that woman divorcing you once she reaches your country depends on how good looking you are and your finances. I know many Americans, especially American soldiers, they marry abroad and once they bring their wife to the States, they divorce them and start looking for better opportunities. But there are other reasons again, like sexual preferences and racism. Some people of color believe that they need to have pure babies with white skin or whatever. But one of the big reasons that I hear directly is a visa with the promises of a better life. Now let's move on to the section that will directly target the people with room IQ temperature. Those dumbasses, do you think you guys escaped my radar? No, I'm on to you. I'm talking about the people who think that no matter how good you look, if you don't have white skin, this automatically puts you in the sub 5 category. First of all, before I debunk all of you, I'm gonna recommend you all to go outside, talk to women and touch some grass. People who are highly attractive are not gonna be bound by their ethnicity. I don't care if they are Indians, Arab, blacks, blue, whatever. And that's because when you reach that high level of attractiveness, you give signals of high tier genetic health and quality. Just look at this guy, look at him, and tell me with a straight face that an average white man will have more dating options than him. Or look at Zendaya and tell me she is a sub 5, cause she is not white. That would be stupid. But again, for example, a man of color or an Indian who is a 6 out of 10 will have lower or about similar SMV to a white guy who is a 5. Both of them are invisible, to be honest. But again, that depends on many factors. For example, Hamza, with his height, look maxing, gym maxing and status, he managed to date the average and above average white woman, and we all know women can enhance their looks with makeup. The average 5 out of 10 white guy does not date or can barely date the average 5 out of 10 women. Funny how that works, doesn't it? There are a lot of factors at play that I can keep going for hours. When it comes to where we are headed in the future, I have here some data provided to us from Wikipedia that shows that the number of interracial marriages as proportion of all marriages has been increasing since 1967, so that by 2010, 15.1% of all new marriages in the United States were mixed race compared to a low single-digit rate in the mid-20th century. Interracial marriage has continued to rise throughout the 2010s, and public approval of interracial marriages rose from around 5% in the 1950s to around 80% in the 2000s. The proportion of interracial marriages is markedly different depending on ethnicity and gender of the spouses. And this rise in interracial marriages is easily explained by the rise of acceptance and liberalism that's slowly been eradicating racism in the newer generation compared to the old one. I believe those numbers will continue to climb at a slow rate as more and more people become open to dating and marrying people from different races. But I also believe racism and sexual preferences will never leave the human race. It will always stay in some shape or form. I think this wraps up today's topic. If you enjoyed the content, a like and subscribe will be highly appreciated. Please be respectful down in the comment section, and like usual, catch you guys in the next one.